there, this is Jules Lustenader, and today I'm going to teach you how to knit the mock honeycomb stitch. This stitch is featured in my newest pattern, the Snowy Plover Shawl, which you can download today on Ravelry. Here it is right in front of you on this little swatch I made just for the sake of this video. This isn't exactly how the shawl pattern is written out because we're making a square here while the shawl is a triangular shape. So we won't be doing any increases during this video. I'm at the point where I'm going to start from the very beginning of the mock honeycomb 6-row repeat. So here's how we do it. Let's do row 1. First, I'm just going to knit these first few stitches of my swatch, which is a garter border, just to get us set up. We're going to knit 4. And then I'm going to go right into the pattern. The first thing you do is you slip 3 stitches with yarn in front. And the first step of doing that is getting your yarn in front, which is very easy. You just put your yarn in front of your right needle like that, as if you're about to purl. But instead of purling, with our right needle, we're just going to slip 3 stitches one at a time, purl-wise, over to the right, like that. Next, we need to knit 1 stitch. And in order to knit that stitch, we need our yarn to be in the back. So we're just going to take it over those 3 stitches we slipped and move it to the back behind our right needle like this. And go ahead and knit that stitch. Oops, but knit it better than me. Make sure to keep that float that you created with those slip stitches nice and loose because we want to pick that up later. And if it's too tight, our work's going to be tight and it's going to start bunching up and it's not going to look very good. So let's try that again. Let's get our yarn in front. And we're going to slip 3 purlwise individually. Then loosely drape that yarn in front of our work and then behind our right needle to knit 1 stitch. Slip 3 with yarn in front again, just repeating this. Get that yarn in back, oops, like that, and knit 1 stitch. Voila, and one more time. 1, 2, 3, and get that yarn in back and knit. I'm going to knit to the end of my row for my swatch. And let's check out what we've done. We've made 4 little floats across 3 stitches each with 1 knit stitch in between. That's row 1. Row 2 is very simple. You're just going to purl all these stitches that you made. As you can see, it creates this kind of stockinette look in the back. It's pretty simple. For my swatch, I'm going to just knit the first 4 stitches, but then I'm going to purl until my last 4 stitches and then knit those for my garter border. So let me do that real fast. Alrighty, we finished row 2 of our 6-row repeat and I'm ready to do row 3. Guess what? Row 3 is exactly the same as row 1. I'm just going to create another row of these floats or loose strands, as I like to call them. And you'll see why in a minute, why I call them that. I'm gonna go ahead and knit 4 just to get me set up. And then I'll begin my stitch repeat of slipping 3 with yarn in front and knitting 1 stitch. Exactly the same thing we did for row 1. Slip 3 purlwise with that yarn in front and then get it in the back to knit 1 and repeat. Slip, slip, slip. Oops, get that back there, please. There we go. And I'm making sure that I'm keeping those floats pretty loose, not too crazy loose, but not so tight that it's strangling those stitches that we just slipped. There we go, and knit till the end. And then when you take a look at your work, you'll see not 1 little strand across, but 2. And they should be right on top of each other. And those knit stitches that we made should be lining up kind of like columns. That's really important to make this stitch work. Now we're on to row 4, which is exactly the same as row 2. So I'll go ahead and get to purling. Okay, I finished row 4, which was a wrong side row where I purled across our mock honeycomb section. This is the right side of our work now. I'm going to do row 5, which is a little bit different than the right side rows we've been doing. We're going to do a stitch called knit 1 ULS. And ULS stands for under loose strands. Those loose strands are these guys that we made. So let me show you how to do that. First I'm going to work my garter border real quick of knitting 4 just to get us set up. So we're going to knit 1 stitch, and before we knit this next stitch, we're going to, with our right needle, pick up those 2 loose strands we made underneath those 2 strands, and then knit into that stitch. And when we pull our yarn through, we're going to let our left needle help us out a little bit and slip those strands over our right needle. So now we've picked up those strands, they're not loose anymore. Then knit 3 and repeat. Knit 1 ULS, under loose strands, knit it and slip it like that. Not so hard. Let's do it again. We'll knit 3 to get us set up. We're basically knitting until we're ready to knit the stitch that's in the center of our loose strands. You see I got 3 stitches that are above my loose strands. We want to knit to that center stitch, that second stitch. Instead of knitting it regularly, we're going to pick up those loose strands, knit it, and get those loose strands over our right needle like that. And do it again. Knit 3, get those loose strands on our right needle, knit the next stitch, and slip them over. And then for my swatch, I'm just going to knit to the end here. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. It looks like that, like a little diamond. We made the top of our diamond. Pretty neat, huh? We got those knit stitches in the middle of the diamonds, and then those loose strands create the point. That knit 1 ULS is right here, where it picked up those 2 strands. And it kind of looks like a cable, but it's not a cable. It's much easier. For row 6, we're going to do the same thing we did for rows 2 and 4, which is just purling on the wrong side across this mock honeycomb section. And that's it. You just repeat from there. For my pattern, I've offset these stranded sections, which is made much more clear in my shawl pattern for the Snowy Plover Shawl. So if you want to give this stitch a go in a wearable accessory, go ahead and check out my pattern, available on Ravelry and Love Knitting. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed it. And happy knitting. Bye-bye now.